Kimberly Underwood, Director of Digital News Media at FCA International Signal Magazine. Welcome to our next episode of Disruptive by Design. Today, I'm speaking with Leslie Hulser, who is the Executive Vice President for Corporate Strategy at Persistent Systems. She's going to delve into the company's Mobile Ad-Hoc Network, or MANET network, that they're working to install in the Baltic Sea Nations region. And it's a maritime system, and she'll go through all the ins and outs of it. And I thought it was very interesting because I think when I first started learning about the company, I learned about their kind of handheld radios, for ground systems. So this has become, very sophisticated networking ability, and that they're doing it in such an important region. So hope you enjoy. Thanks. Hi, Kimberly Underwood here with FCA's Signal Magazine Disruptive by Design podcast. I'm sitting down today with Leslie Hulser, who is with Persistent Systems. Hi, Leslie. How are you today?
Good. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background, how you got to Persistent?
Absolutely. I have a background in both project management and government contracts. And so when I met Persistent about 14 years ago, we were a small company and we were starting to negotiate our first government contract directly. I was brought on to navigate that process. Now, about 14 years later, we have nearly 400 employees. We're on our 5th generation of technology, and I'm responsible for the overall corporate strategy as well as our business and sales operations.
Nice. Yes, I bet you've been busy.
A little.
Yeah. And so can you talk a little bit more about what your roles involve at Persistent?
My team is primarily responsible not only for our sales, but going out and working with customers and helping solve their problems with our wave relay technology. We create what I would consider the most operationally relevant MANET technology that allows customers to solve their communication problems on the battlefield. I'm also responsible for our program and delivery team. So once we've worked with a customer to solve some of their communication problems, we will send a team to help them implement our solution, both wave relay and cloud relay. And finally, I'm responsible for our business operations. So that includes all of the things that make a company run.
Right. Yeah. And you all are based in New York City. Is that correct?
We are in New York City, and we get a lot of questions as to why are we in New York City. Our co-founders are very insistent that we stay in New York City because we're dealing in RF technology. One of the most congested environments is New York City. So we are out testing every day our technology to make sure that it can operate in these environments.
Right. That's very cool. And I was so glad you could come on and talk about your efforts. Specifically, I was most interested in your latest work with Baltic Sea Nations. Can you talk about your efforts there?
Absolutely. So our team has been working with the Baltic region for a few years now, helping them implement a maritime network that can connect people, places, and things. Specifically, we're helping them connect naval vessels, aircraft, ground forces, coastal security teams, and mobile operations centers. And it's covering a 2,500-mile stretch of the Baltic Sea and their coastal zone. The network will deliver connectivity not only within the specific states that we're working with, but also as well as between the states. The network will connect ships to shore, sensors to effectors, humans to machines, and deliver data such as voice, video, text, GPS, and real-time data. So really, if you can imagine, it's kind of delivering a JADC2 network to this region where they can have a common operating picture to understand what's happening, what there might be threats in the area, or just monitoring the area.
Right, absolutely. And can you talk about the different kind of components of the network, on the radio side and on the antenna side?
Absolutely. So the foundation of the network is based on our wave relay technology, which is a true peer-to-peer technology. This is delivered in several different form factors. So we have a handheld form factor that looks kind of like a radio, but it's a networking device. And we also have antennas. We have both panel and sector antennas that can be mounted to fixed infrastructure that creates the fixed part of the network. The beauty of this is that with the fixed part of the network along the maritime border, as assets come in, ships, aircraft that have the MPU-5 or an embedded module that enables wave relay integrated in it, they can connect as they are on the move. So this allows this suite of equipment to create this common operating picture. The region is also going to be leveraging what we call our cloud relay technology. So this is a game changer. If you have a peer-to-peer network, that's really a line of sight network. What happens if an asset moves outside of that line of sight network? They would lose communications normally. But what happens with cloud relay is it's a transport agnostic system that allows that person or thing that may leave the network to connect via another route, such as wireless, wired internet, or SATCOM. And so this really enables not only line of sight, but beyond line of sight connectivity in the region.
Right. And can you kind of go into that a little bit more, kind of why this communication solution is needed for the region? Obviously, these Baltic Sea nations, they're along the sea, to the west, northwest, there's Russia, to kind of the northeast Russia, and, then along, closer to Finland and Sweden. But why is this perfect for this region?
With the current world environment, there's concerns about borders, and having such a large maritime border, it can feel pretty unprotected. And so their military faces significant communication challenges with the lack of interoperability, both domestically. So forces that are just within one of the Baltic states, but also with their neighboring Baltic allies. So how do you show up and work with somebody in another agency or another country and communicate that critical technology that may be coming across this 2,500-mile maritime border? So really, this is to create information sharing and an alert as to what might be happening in the region. There has been some press, last year that some of the cables undersea had been cut. A system like this would help understand if there was a threat in the area that might be threatening some of their existing communication, some of their ports, or some of their sea, and can provide that kind of seamless communication fabric so that the different agencies in different states can communicate those threats as they're coming in.
Right, sure. And what's unique about this maritime system? I think the first thing I would think about is the scale, but can you kind of talk about that?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Wave Relay is exceptionally good at that makes us different from other MANET technologies is the ability to scale. So the strength in the MANET is in the numbers. The more nodes you have, the stronger network connection you have. Additionally, having a fixed infrastructure in a maritime environment, it's a pretty harsh environment, not only for communications, but also for the equipment. And our equipment is well suited to be in these fixed infrastructure situations for long periods of time and doesn't require a lot of maintenance to keep them running. We have a similar technology displayed with our Air Force customer. So our regional operating picture program is actually the world's largest continually operating MANET. It covers 26,000 square miles, so it's bigger than this. And we're mirroring this system in a lot of ways along the maritime border in the Baltics.
Got it, sure. And can you kind of talk about the resiliency of such a network, especially what's needed in that area, as far as jamming or cyber, what considerations do you have there?
So our system works really well in contested and congested environments. We've done a lot of work to ensure that our encryption keeps the system safe. I can't talk specifically about what they're doing in the region. The power of the network is in the number of the nodes and in our commercial encryption technology. So the more nodes that we have out there, the stronger the network will be. If a node is compromised, the network will work around that node. And so it doesn't compromise the entire system.
Right, sure. And can you talk about kind of especially from your perspective of being with the company for about 14 years, talk about kind of how MANET technology itself has evolved over the years. And I think when I first started learning about persistent, I just learned about the handheld radios. but it's involved to be such a complex, ecosystem and sophisticated network. But can you kind of frame that for us?
Absolutely. The technology of MANET has really evolved. When I first started with Persistent, you would hear mesh technology a lot more. And mesh, in my mind, is really fixed. It doesn't move. So it's fixed. It's kind of like your Verizon router at home, right? It stays where it is and it connects when you're there. Then what we saw is, okay, well, we need to put some of these things on the move. So you would see more of a point to point where you'd have one point connecting to another point, and those two would move. Now with MANET and the way that Persistent Systems delivers our wave relay technology, everything is on the move. So it's points moving to other points moving, and maintaining that network at a high ability to transit a lot of data. So that has really evolved to bring massive capabilities to the users. In addition to our product line, we create a very small and specific suite of products that leverage the wave relay technology to be the best that it can be for our users. So we did used to just have one form factor. Now we have, an MPU5 that looks kind of like a radio, but delivers a networking capability. We have an embedded module, which is able to be integrated into platforms. So ground robots, unmanned aerial systems, unmanned surface vessels. And we also have a variety of different antennas that can make the technology go further and be stronger.
Right, sure. And I don't know what you can talk about as far as the antennas for this effort. I understand it's a tower mounted, integrated antenna, but what can you add there, if anything?
There's several different types of antenna. Some areas would require, 360 degrees of coverage and others don't. They might be facing one specific direction. So we've created integrated antennas that has wave relay inside of it. So you don't have to have separate boxes, if you will. You can install it in one nice, clean installation that makes it easy to operate and easy to maintain.
And it sounds like such an important system, for the region. Are there any challenges that you've found in your efforts so far, or anything that is unusual or different about kind of rolling out this type of system?
It is definitely a challenging system to roll out. We work really closely with our customers to make sure we understand what their problem set is and how we can help solve it. So what I envision as this program moves forward is the maritime environment can be challenging. Just what's, salt in the air, and that can be pretty challenging. And the long range that we need to cover along a border. So 2,500 miles is a big linear place to cover. So as we dig into it, we'll learn more. I'm confident that Wave Relay can solve these problems, but those are the two challenges I see.
Right, sure. And then just last question, do you have any advice to younger folks who are looking to either get into this business or work with a US radio manufacturer or do this kind of management? Any advice there?
Absolutely. Be curious, ask questions. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. So, innovate. One of the things that I love about Persistent Systems and why I've been here for so long is we don't just listen and build what our customer says they need. We think about what the true problem is and how can we solve that, not just today, but 10 years from now. And I find that curiosity is the most important thing in someone's career.
Oh, that's great advice. Anything else you wanted to add, Leslie?
I think that covers it. We really appreciate the time to get to talk about this project and also just, the game-changing technology that we build here at Persistent Systems. Really appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks so much, Leslie. Thanks for walking us through all that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.